Welcome to Yoga with Kaila. Let's relax and move our body with our breath. If you are loving these videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Hello and welcome to Yoga for Letting Go. Today's practice, we're going to start in an easy seated position. So whatever that means to you, that could be seated on your sit bones, it could be in half lotus. Just finding an easy seated position near the top of your mat. If you do have yoga blocks nearby, make sure you have them near your mat. If you don't have yoga blocks, that's totally okay. I'll give you lots of options. So we're just going to start with bringing our awareness to our breath. Noticing the path that the breath travels in your body. Feeling the chest, ribs, belly expand, and then the belly, ribs, chest contract as they push the air out of our body, and just beginning to bring that awareness to that breath. And while we're breathing, I want you to feel your forehead grow light and your thinking and your mind fall quiet. Letting any worries and thoughts be silent as you breathe, inhaling and exhaling through your nose. Just allowing the mind to soften and allowing our awareness to come into that place between the eyebrows, onto our forehead, into that third eye. We're beginning to relax and notice those shoulders relaxing down away from our ears. Feeling tension melting and feeling our body grow heavy. Let's do a couple more rounds of breath here. Let's begin to bring some movement. We're going to inhale our right arm up high towards the sky, reaching up and over to the left. Exhale, replace it down on the right hand side. Inhale, left arm up high towards the sky. Exhale, replace it. And we're just going to keep flowing side to side. Now you go as fast or as slow as you want to. This is your practice. This is your movement. So just paying attention to your own breath and seeing if you can make your hands soft, light, and airy. Can you make them flow really softly? Can you make them feel weightless? As you're breathing here, how weightless are your hands or your arms? We're grounded through our sacral chakra, grounding down into the earth, feeling our roots grow heavy, knowing that we are supported and held up by the earth here on our yoga mats. Let's do two more. Last one right here. And slowly release. Now we're going to begin to bring movement. So if it feels better to you to release the legs, one leg is slightly forward, one leg back, completely up to you. We're just going to begin to move some circles in through our torso. So we're using that breath, inhales and exhales, to guide us into our circles. So feel free to play around with the foot options, the seated position. I'm just going to start with one direction. So we're just warming up the body here, using our breath, using our movement. Practicing letting go, staying in the present moment, right? We're letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments, letting go of the squirrely mind, the mind that tends to race. Good, let's go in the other direction. See how long you can make your inhales and your exhales. or how big or small you can make your hip circles. Just bringing that motion into the joints of our body, finding rhythm within your own body, within your own being. Let's do 2 more. One more breath. And slowly coming back to center. So you can choose to find hands at heart center. We're just going to begin by setting our intention for our class. So this class is meant to be restorative and to practice letting go. So whatever intention you'd like. So I am letting go is a great affirmation to have. I'm staying present. I am finding my breath. So choosing some affirmation or point of focus for yourself for this practice. And then we'll shift forward onto all fours, bringing our hands planted underneath our shoulders, our knees planted underneath our hips. We're just going to find those same circles, and we're just playing around a little bit with our wrist health here. So you can always choose to take fists for wrists if it is easier for you. But this position here, we're just playing around a little bit with practicing some wrist health. Good, let's go in the other direction. So just finding those little bit of circles, weight coming forward onto those wrists and hands. Good, and we're going to change directions with our hands. Let's turn our hands around behind us. See if you can find a little bit of circle, right? It's just a little motion. And then play around with it in the other direction. We're doing about 3 or 4, something along those lines. Good, play around with those hand options. Maybe your hands go out to the side. Good, other direction. Wonderful. Okay, let's come back to a planted position. Planting our feet firmly down onto our mats. Our belly is pulled up away from our mats. Our head is extended long. We're going to lift our right leg up, extending it out nice and long. 2 hips in one line. So you can choose to stay here, or you can choose to add on. If you're adding on, we're coming into spinal balance, opposite arm, opposite leg. So if your right leg is lifted, your left arm is extended. We're going to take a nice deep inhale here. And as we exhale, we're going to curl down and forward, bringing our knee in towards our elbow. Inhale, extending, lengthening. And as we exhale, we curl, contract, protect, right? So finding our bird dog here, so these inhales and exhales in that spinal balance position, using your own breath to guide you in and out, finding your own strength. You have that option to do fists for wrists if it's too much on your wrists. You could also do this down from your elbows, right? We can still do this from an elbow position. So lots of options here for you. Let's do 2 more. And inhale, reach, extend, and we're going to hold. We're going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and let it go. Ever so slowly back down to the mat. Maybe you find a little wag side to side, right? Letting that go, right? That's our practice. That's our theme today. Let it go. Hey, if it wasn't our favorite thing, that's okay. We're going to shake it off. We're going to let it go. Inhale, lifting, extending left leg out long this time, finding 2 hips in one line. So you want to make sure that you're not rotating open. 2 hips in one line. Choosing to stay here or choosing to add on into that full spinal balance. Right arm extended, left leg extended. Taking a nice deep inhale here. Exhale, elbow down towards your knee, curling, rounding, crunching in. Inhale, lift, extend, reach forward. Exhale. So as we're extending and reaching, we're making sure that shoulder stays back in our spine. We don't want it reaching forward. Keeping our spine long and strong. Keeping our glutes focused, supporting those hips. Allowing our breath to guide us in and out, so making sure that we're not holding our breath. Paying attention to those tension patterns within our body. Things that we tend to do when we're feeling a little bit challenged or stressed. Let's do 2 more here. Inhale, reach, extend, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly bringing it back down. Let's press it back, finding our first child's pose of this practice. So we are grounded down through our forehead. If we're having problems grounding our forehead down to the mat, you could use a yoga block if you have one. If you don't have a yoga block available to you, I do recommend stacking fists, finding space here. You could also come into puppy. Stack fists here or forehead down onto the mat. Yoga is for everybody. And every body, right? Every body. If you can breathe, you can do yoga. We just modify each posture, right? Your posture doesn't need to look like my posture, and my posture doesn't need to look like your posture. This is our own practice. And our bodies are perfect just the way they are in our practice here today. Let's reach our arms way forward. Shifting our weight forward, let's curl our back toes under, pressing it up into our downward facing dog. So we already talked about the option of puppy. So if downward facing dog isn't available to us today, maybe we're doing puppy. Reaching, extending, trying to plant down through those heels. And to reach our right leg up high towards the sky, let's step it on through. Step our back foot in just slightly. Walk our hands up, a bent front knee. We find warrior 1. So I'm going to turn so that you can see me a little bit better here. So we're in our warrior 1. Our body is tall, shoulders relaxed down and back. So the idea today, guys, is that I'm going to take you into a little bit of stress and then give you the ability to let it go, to shake it off. That's the whole practice, right? When we practice these skills on our mats, we can take them off our mats and bring our awareness back to that breath, back to the skills of just shake it off, let it go, right? Taking a nice deep inhale here, let's reach up high towards the sky, extending our front leg. Exhale, hands back down to the heart center, bending through that front knee. Inhale, lift, extend. Exhale. You got it. Use that breath to guide you in and out of this flowing warrior 1. And you could choose different hand options. Maybe you like to sweep your arms. Or maybe you are a big chest expansion person. You want to take up space. That's cool. Well, it kind of feels nice to do some chest expansion work. Let's do 2 more breaths. Coming back into our warrior 1, let's extend long through the front leg, shift our weight forward, hinging from our hips. We come down and forward and we find our pyramid posture. So 2 hands are going to come on either side of our leg. If our hamstrings are a little tight today, we could use 1 or 2 yoga blocks on either side to help us with that balance. Again, if we do not have these available, we're grounding our hands onto our thigh or our shin. And then if it's available to us today, we're tucking that forehead down towards our knee. So you should feel a beautiful stretch in through that front leg, in the back side of the leg. You want to try and keep 2 hips roughly in one line. We're hinging from the hips. And you want to try and remove that bend. So we don't want too much of a bend in that front knee. We want to extend nice and long through that front knee, tucking that forehead down nice and long. Reach those arms forward. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, you can choose to bring those hands out long into a prayer position, out overhead. Meeting our bodies with where we're at today. We're letting go of expectations and letting go of judgment. We are just simply being in our bodies here today on our mats in this very moment and experiencing whatever it is that we need to experience. We're experiencing the sensation of the stretch. We're experiencing our breath moving in and out of our body. We're experiencing the sound of the instructor instructing us through the practice. We're experiencing the thoughts that come through our head like waves from the ocean, and we're noticing them, right? We're observing them. We're not judging them or changing them or paying attention to them. We're just simply observing them and allowing them to pass. Let's shift the weight forward into your right leg, lifting that left leg up nice and long. Hands coming down towards our mat. If they're not already there, we're coming into our standing straddle splits. Tucking that forehead down towards the knee. Now, if you want more of a challenge here in your standing splits, you can wrap one arm or 2 arms around that calf. And then again, if it's available to you, you can tuck that forehead down towards that knee. If you're falling out or you're finding your wobble, your balance is a little off, that's okay. Keep pushing, keep practicing here. The idea here is that we are meeting ourselves with where we're at and we're challenging ourselves. We're trying something new, something a little different. Now let's make this into a flow and bring some breath into it. Inhale, tucking the left knee in towards your chest, bending through both knees. Exhale, extend out nice and long. Inhale, tuck, round, crouch. Exhale, extend. Let's do 2 more. Hold for 4, 3, 2. Bring your left leg to meet your right leg. And let's just come into our forward fold. So you can just kind of hang out here. Let your upper body fall heavy. If our hands don't quite reach the ground, that's okay. They can wobble and dangle. They can ground onto our thighs. We're listening to our bodies with what we want today, with what feels good in our body. You could also grab elbow to elbow and just see if you can let those hips go. Let's take our right leg this time. Let's step it slightly back, bending through the left knee. We'll walk our hands up that left knee, finding warrior 1 on the other side. Now I'm going to turn again so that you can see me. Whew, a little bit of a head rush coming back up there. Okay, so we're in that warrior 1. We're standing nice and tall. We're grounded. We're going to begin to flow it. Let's inhale, lifting up nice and tall, extending through that front leg. Exhale, coming down and forward. Any of those hand options that resonate with you, right? Take up space. This is your practice. It can look any way that you want it to look. There's no right, there's no wrong. We're just flowing breath, movement. Let's do 2 more, just like this. Exhale. Oh, good. Grounding. Extending long through the front leg, shifting our hips, hinging from our hips. We come down and forward. Hands come to either side of that front leg. So you have the option again to use those yoga blocks or to ground onto the thigh or shin. And then we're tucking that forehead down towards our knee, finding our pyramid posture on the other side. Good. So we're finding that extension through the left leg this time, the left back of our leg. We should feel a nice, lovely, wonderful stretch. Many of us tend to be very, very tight in our hamstrings, right? So we need to stretch those babies out. We ask a lot of our legs to hold us up through our daily lives. We need to give them some grace and some gratitude and show them that we care and allow them to stretch and relax. And we're just moving that energy in our body, keeping our mind focused on the present. Can you notice something that you smell around you? Can you notice something that you can hear? Can you notice something that you can see? What is something that you can feel? Can you feel your mat? Can you feel your pants? What is it that you have around you? So just experiencing those senses. Keeping ourselves, our brain, our awareness in our body. Let's shift our weight forward into that left leg, lifting the right leg up high towards the sky, finding our standing straddle splits on the other side this time. And again, we find that edge. Can you wrap one hand around a calf? Can you wrap two hands around a calf? Sometimes we're a little bit more balanced on one side than another, right? That's cool. Can you tuck your forehead down towards your knee? Finding that edge. If you're falling out, you're using that yogi determination to get right back into it. Good. Let's take a breath, bending both knees, coming in. Exhale. Inhale, coming back down and in, curling in. Exhale, up. Use that leg strength. Two more. One more. Hold for 4, 3, 2, bringing that right foot to meet that left foot, hanging out here. Let's come into that standing forward fold. Let everything hang, let it go. Rocking side to side, maybe you're rocking figure eights. Forward and back. Allowing those hamstrings to lengthen, allowing our body to just let it go. Taking a nice deep bend through our knees, let's roll up one vertebrae at a time. Slowly, slowly coming all the way up. Reaching it up nice and tall, giving yourselves a good morning stretch, right? Like that stretch that you do first thing in the morning, where you're like, yeah, that feels kind of nice. Wobble, wobble. Exhale, hands down. Okay. Welcome to standing. Let's inhale our right arm up high towards the sky. Coming up, reaching over, nice and long. Reaching our left arm down our left leg. We're extending our hips off to that right hand side of the room. Exhale, coming back to center. Let it go. Light, airy arms. Inhale, left arm up high towards the sky. Right arm reaches down this time, down our right leg. Finding our hips shifting off to the left-hand side of the room this time. Breathing, extending, lengthening through that left side body. Getting that lateral flexion. Exhale, coming back through front. And we're going to allow those arms to fall heavy. Wonderful. Inhale, both arms up high. Exhale, sinking our sit bones down and back, finding our chair. So remember when I told you that we were going to practice going in to a little bit of some stress and a little bit of relaxation? This is where I was meaning. Okay. So we're going to take a nice deep inhale here. Exhale, left knee to or left elbow to your right knee. We're coming into our prayer twisting chair. So looking that you have two knees roughly in one line. Is one knee shifting forward? Can you find alignment within your hips as you're twisting here? Can you take that spine a little longer? You could choose to bring one arm down and one arm up if you wanted to. Again, checking in with the hips. Your choice on which variation of your twisting chair. Breathing. Let's do 2 more rounds of breath. And let's inhale, rising up nice and tall. Exhale, let it go. Shake it out. Did you feel that sensation build in your legs, that burning sensation, right? We're allowing that lactic acid to let go. Okay, let's do it again. Inhale, arms up nice and high to the sky. Exhale, hands down through heart center, taking your right elbow this time over to that left knee, twisting, finding our prayer twisting chair here. Again, you still have that option to come one arm down, one arm up, checking in with your knees, or 2 knees in one line. Are your knees separate, or are they trying to squish together? Can you find your breath here in this moment? Let's do 2 more rounds of breath. Inhale, rise. Exhale, shake it out. Right? That was good. That was good. Okay. Inhale, reaching up nice and high. Exhale, swan diving forward. Chest hinging from our hips. Hands planting down on the ground, on our shins or on our thighs. Forehead drops down. We're going to come into our gorilla pose here. So taking the palm of your hand face up, we're going to wiggle it underneath our foot or toes. And same thing on the other side. So you can bend as much as you need to through your knees. Dropping that forehead down towards our knees, we're going to pull with our arms, extending our sit bones up nice and high towards the sky. Maybe you can shift your weight a little bit more into the ball of your foot, allowing those sit bones to rise, pulling with the arms, extending through the legs, bringing that forehead down towards our knees. Beautiful, dynamic tension. Our belly is sandwiched on our thighs. Using that back strength. Wonderful. Let's take those hands out, planting our hands. Step it back into our downward facing dog. Whew. Walk out that dog. Let's inhale forward into our plank. Option to drop your knees into kneeling plank here. Exhale, elbows down your sides, coming into our crocodile. Option to be on your knees. Inhale, scooching our body forward, coming through into our baby cobra. Using that back strength to lift us. Exhale, pressing into our palms, pressing back, rolling through the knees, coming back into our downward facing dog. Let's do another little mini flow, just like that. I'll walk you through it again. Inhale, shifting your weight forward into your plank. Exhale, elbows extending back, crocodile, controlling the motion. Inhale, shifting that weight forward, lifting up, lowering our body down, baby cobra. Exhale, pressing into the hands, rolling through the knees, pressing back, downward facing dog. Now, can you do one more just like that at your own pace? So I won't say a word. I will do it on the screen for you. I won't say a word, and you can do it at your own pace. We'll meet in our downward facing dogs. Good, let's drop down to our knees, press it back, child's pose. So I'm going to come back up onto all fours. We're going to take our right knee to our right wrist, bring our right ankle towards our left wrist, Slide that left leg back, pressing into our hands. We find pigeon, right? That was an interesting way to get into pigeon. I'm sure some of you are thinking. Okay, so our shin bone is not quite parallel with the front edge of our mat, but we want it roughly parallel. We don't want it tucked under. So I'm just going to turn so you can see. So you don't want your knee tucked under here. You want to have that leg a little bit forward here. So you should be able to stretch into your hip rotators in through those glutes. All right, I'm going to shift back forward so we can do this together. We're going to use our sinking breath. So a sinking breath is used to help us relax into a posture. And as you know, today's theme is letting go. So let's inhale, lifting, rising up nice and tall. Exhale, sinking, rounding down and forward. 2 more. Inhale. Rise. Exhale, sink. Inhale, rise. Exhale, sink. Let it go. So grounding that forehead on a block. Stack wrists, stack fists. We're finding that pigeon. Now you could use a block because we're letting go and we're practicing a little bit more of a restorative practice. You could use a block behind your hip to help support you so you don't have to try and keep yourself up. It is completely up to you. This is your practice. We're listening to your body. So most of the time we feel like we store stress up in that upper neck and shoulders, and we will stretch that out today. But we also store it in through our hips. So it's so important to practicing some hip opening within our practice as well. And pigeon is such a great one to get those hip rotators. Good. Let's slowly press back into our hands, slowly coming up, curling our back toes under. Let's press it back into our downward facing dog. Take that little dog for a walk. Let it go. All right. Come back on down onto our knees. We're on all fours. We're going to scooch our left knee towards our left wrist, our left ankle towards our right wrist. We're going to press into our hands and slide that right leg back. Now we're in pigeon. Finding that sinking breath, rising, inhale, lift. Exhale, sinking down and forward. Inhale, rise, lift. Exhale, let it go. Last one, inhale. Exhale, let it go, sinking down and back. All of these same options that we just did on the other side with the yoga block or how to ground through your forehead still exists. Bringing that awareness to your breath, or maybe you're trying to find those senses that we were focusing on, right? Something that you can smell, something that you can see, something that you can hear, something that you can feel. I think the only sense I really leave out is taste, because we're not really eating. So whatever you're tasting is whatever maybe your last meal was or whatever is in your mouth right now. So that's not always the most favorable sense to bring our awareness to. But you can use it. Just noticing with each breath that hip relaxes a little bit further, a little deeper. Let's place our hands down on our mat, curling our back toes under. We're going to press it up into our downward facing dog. Walk that dog out. Bending through our knees, let's press it back into our child's pose. So I promised you we'd stretch through that head, neck, and shoulders. I'm going to turn to face you so that we can see this. So we're going to inhale up onto all fours from your child's pose. Let's take our left arm up high towards the sky, or look up at that left arm. We're going to thread that left arm through underneath the right arm, coming in to thread the needle. Drop that arm down onto your mat, dropping the ear down towards the mat, and keeping that right hand there for support. So this is our thread the needle. So this will stretch through that back of the shoulder. It's going to stretch to that neck, back of the shoulder, just increasing mobility here. Upper back. Keeping that bum high in the sky. So I'm going to turn this way now so that you can keep seeing what it looks like from the side. Pressing into your right hand. Inhale back through center. Let's take that right hand up high towards the sky. Reach, look up at the right hand. Exhale. Thread that right arm through. Drop that shoulder down onto our mat. Keeping that left hand there for support. And we're feeling that stretch through the back side of our right shoulder, maybe into our upper right back. So you should feel it all through here. Finding that breath. Relaxing, letting go. Pressing into that left hand. Let's come back up through center. And let's walk our hands back. So we're going to find our hero pose, right? Hero pose. Okay. So from hero, we're going to actually go into our camel pose. So camel's lots of fun. There's a couple different variations to do it. It's a back bend. We haven't done a whole bunch of back bends yet today. So we're going to inhale forward onto our knees. And we're going to go into camel twice because I'm going to let you do it two different ways, just choosing whatever options resonate with you. My knees are stacked underneath my hips. You have the option to stack onto your toes or to bring those toes flat. Completely up to you, depending on the option that you're going to go with. So with camel, we want to keep our hips pressing forward. Our heart center rises. We're being pulled up high towards the sky through our sternum. So you can have your hands at heart center. You can have your hands onto your hips. I'm going to start with hands on the hips the first time I take you through. So inhale, pressing those hips forward, lifting through heart center. So you can choose to stay here, or you can choose to go a little further. If you're pressing through your hips, using that glute strength, so we're not hinging into the back. That's the biggest mistake with camel here, is that people hinge into their back. But when we want to press through our glutes, reaching up and over with our spine as if we're reaching over a beach ball. Shoulders roll back. And if it's available to you, you can choose to reach down towards your heels. One more round of breath. Bring your hands back up to our hips if they were behind us. Dropping those hips back down. Reaching, extending forward into child's pose. Okay, so that was a full extension of camel. So you got to choose hands on the hips or at heart center, reaching up over that beach ball with the option to reach back for your heels if you were ready for it today. I'm going to go into camel one more time with a little bit of a wider knee base. So let's inhale forward, coming back up onto our knees. This time we're stacking our knees a little bit wider than hip width. So find your hip bones, point your fingers down. You'll notice what is hip width, so a little bit wider than hip width. Maybe our feet are together, right? Maybe our toes are touching. You have that option to be up onto your toes. So you can go back into full camel just like we did the first round, just with a wider stance. Or we can choose to come with heart center, keeping our thumbs on our breastbone. We're reaching our pinkies up towards the sky. So pressing those hips forward, lifting through your sternum, lift those pinkies up towards the sky. Press through those hips. Option to reach back for your heels. One more round of breath. Coming back up through center, dropping our hip bones down towards our mat, reaching our arms forward. Let it go. So noticing the tension patterns in your body. Are you in child's pose? Are your shoulders creeping up towards your ears? Are your teeth clenched? Are you holding tension in your face? Can you find a little bit more softness in your expression? Can you find a more mindless state, a state where we're not completely paying attention to all the thoughts that are focused within our mind? Can you just stay here in the present moment, in your body, enjoying the process? So let's inhale back up onto all fours. Now this time we're going to take our knees nice and wide. So we're going to come into our frog pose. So knees are nice and wide. We're going to come down onto those elbows, stacking fists. If you'd like for your forehead, my favorite way to do this, so if you have a yoga block, is to bring that yoga block onto that forehead. Completely up to you. And then play around with where you want to set your hips. So you can set them further back. You can come way forward. Play around with where you want to set them, where you're feeling a good amount of stretch, and just hold. Allow those shoulders to melt away from your ears. Allow your teeth to part just slightly. Allow your cheeks to fall soft. Let's bring that awareness to that space between our eyebrows, into our mind's eye. And just breathing positive, happy feelings into that space. Breathing calming feelings. Feelings of utmost certainty within ourselves, within our body, within our being. And noticing with each breath, the stretch falls a little lighter. We begin to find a little bit more space within that stretch. We begin to find a little bit more letting go within the muscles themselves. Holding on to less tension. Holding on to less just in general. Our lives can be so chaotic and we hold on to everything, and sometimes we feel like we need to carry everything and everyone. So coming into this practice, we're allowing ourselves to just let go, to be, to not carry anyone, to not carry anything, to become weightless. Let's slowly remove the yoga block if it was underneath your forehead, pressing back up through our hands, bringing those knees back towards each other. Let's press it back, child's pose. Just take a moment here. So before we go into after child's pose here, we're going into tortoise. So I'm going to talk you through it, and then I'm going to guide you through it, because it's a very difficult one for me to do and talk you through at the exact same time. So I'm going to show you. So inhale, sitting up nice and tall. So you're going to grab your heels, thumbs on the outside, fingers on the inside. We're tucking our forehead down towards our knees. Our forehead is going to come in as if we're touching our knees with our forehead. You're going to bring the top of your head, which should be tricky because I've got a nice bun here, but the top of your head onto your yoga mat. And we're going to put all of our weight in our arms and our hands, and we're just going to lift our hips just slightly up. And you should feel a really nice stretch through your upper back. Okay? So I'm going to show you now what it looks like, and then I'll guide you through it together. So grabbing on, I tuck down and forward, forehead comes down into my knees, lifting my sit bones up. I feel that nice, beautiful stretch between my shoulder blades. Oh, one of my favorite ones. Okay, so let's do this together. Grabbing onto your heels, thumbs on the outside, fingers on the inside, tucking that forehead down towards our chest. We curl in, tucking that forehead down towards our knees now, bringing that top of the head down onto our yoga mat. Once we have all of our weight into our hands, we're going to lift our sit bones just up high towards the sky. Weightlessness on the top of our head. You should feel a stretch all between the upper back and those shoulder blades there. Dropping those shoulders down away from your ears, melting them down, lifting those sit bones up nice and high, breathing. Exhale, sinking those sit bones down and back. Rolling up just slowly, 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 slowly. Hands coming onto our knees, sitting up nice and tall in our hero pose. Good, let's walk our hands back behind us. Drop those shoulders down away from us. So you could choose to stay here. If you wanted a little bit more, which I'm gonna come a little bit more forward here, falling off my yoga mat. Okay, if you want a little bit more of a stretch, especially through those quads, we're going to just lift up. So this is modified hero's pose, right? We're lifting our sit bones up high towards the sky, and we are feeling that nice stretch all down those quads. So using that glute strength, and it's another form of a back bend here. So you could choose to stay in your hero's pose just the way we were, sitting on our knees, or you can come into modified heroes here. Lifting, dropping those shoulders down, pressing into the hands, lifting the hips up a little higher. Finding that breath. Exhale, drop those hips back down. Let it go, finding that hero's pose once again. Whew. Let's shift our hips off to one side. Swinging those legs around front, bending nice and deep through our knees. So often we'll go into seated forward fold here, but what I really want to do is work on, like I said, stretching through the upper back and neck area where we do hold a lot of stress, just like through our hips where we hold a lot of stress. So rather than just going straight into our seated forward fold, let's bend through our knees, grab onto our feet with our hands. Now, if you cannot reach your feet, you can always use a yoga strap, right? So, or a belt strap or a scarf, whatever helps you to wrap around your feet to grab on, completely up to you. We're just gonna walk our feet slightly forward, and then I want you to round through your upper back. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like from the side. From the side, we're just gonna pull with our hands onto our feet and round through the upper back. So we're here, now we're rounding. And I like to also press down through my toes, and it just creates that little bit of extra stretching sensation. So really similar to our tortoise or a gorilla, right? Where we're pulling with our arms and pressing with our legs. But this is a nice stretch for that middle back region, that area of the back that we don't tend to stretch very often. Good, lift those toes up. Let's walk those heels out. You can drop the hands, drop that forehead, coming into our seated forward fold. So allow those feet to fall. Don't pull with your arms. We're just allowing our arms to fall where they fall, tucking that forehead down towards our knees, seated forward fold. Good, slowly rolling back in. So we're going to bring our elbows down onto the mat behind us. And we're going to come into restorative fish or fish. I'm going to show you both options. So I'll take you into fish and then I'll take you into restorative fish if you have a yoga block available or a bolster. So if we're going into fish, you want to bring your hands, palms down, just slightly underneath your glutes. So not quite on the sit bones themselves, but underneath the glutes. Elbows are bent down onto our mat. We're going to inhale, lifting through heart center and chest. And pointing the toes, we find our fish. You could choose to stay here in this supportive back bend in fish. You could also choose to bring a yoga block or a bolster behind you and just slide slightly back and allow those hands to fall open, legs to fall open. Nice gentle back bend with the support of our mat and our block today. So we're just going to hang out here for a couple moments, couple rounds of breath. Wonderful. Let's slowly place our hands back down onto the mat. Remove that yoga block if it's there. Let's roll down onto our backs, bringing your knees in towards our chest. Let's rock it side to side, maybe forward and back. Taking that left leg, let's extend it out nice and long. Grabbing onto the right leg, let's bring it out and around that hip and rib cage. Bring it in towards our right shoulder. Coming into our wind removing posture. Just working on healthy hip joints, right? So important to have healthy hip joints in our practice where we learn to let go, right? We're holding tension within that hip. We're going to take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Let that leg go. Do you feel that nice, warm, beautiful sensation of rich oxygenated blood traveling through that hip joint? So wonderful. Inhale, bringing that left leg in, grabbing onto the left leg, bringing it out around that rib cage in towards that left shoulder, pulling with our arm strength, breathing, practicing creating that tension, creating that sensation. Exhale, let it go. Feeling that nice warm sensation in through that left hip this time. Let's plant through our feet, planting our feet firmly down onto our mats. Let's take a nice deep inhale, lifting our hip bones up high towards the sky, up off the mat, coming into our bridge. So you can choose to hold bridge, or if you have a yoga block or a bolster, we're going to come into restorative bridge. So taking that yoga block or bolster, we're going to place it on our sacrum here and just allow our hips to fall heavy. This is actually one of my most favorite postures in the whole wide world. It seems to let go of like the back tension. So if you don't have a yoga block, I do highly recommend a yoga block or a bolster of some sort to just allow those hips to simply hang and allow that tension to melt away. If we're holding our bridge here, you can have that option to wrap those shoulders underneath and grab onto the hands underneath your body. Again, it's your practice, but we're just practicing letting go. No expectations, just whatever it is that our body wants to do today. So if we're in our full bridge, we're going to slowly begin to lower our hips down towards our mats. If we're in our restorative bridge, we're going to lift our hips slightly to pull that yoga block or bolster out and slowly relax down into the mat. Bringing those knees in towards our chest, taking a nice deep inhale, curling up into a nice tight ball. Exhale, extending out nice and long, reaching high towards the sky in that good morning stretch. We're extending those toes out nice and long. Wrapping those arms down around your body, coming hands down by our sides, shoulders roll open, toes fall open. We're going to come into our Savasana. So you do have that option to allow those knees to knock inward if we're just allowing a little bit more grace into that lower back. Or you can have those legs out long, your choice. We're going to soften our gaze and bring that awareness internal, bringing that awareness into our body. Noticing our breath and the sensation and direction in which it travels. Seeing if you can breathe into each limb. Can you breathe into your toes? Can you draw that breath into each fingertip? We're painting our own picture within our body, right? Drawing that sensation and awareness of the breath into each region. If you're still noticing tension within the body, I want you to draw that breath into that space. And with your exhale, allow it to let go. Because we're in the safety of our own home or our own place of comfort, it can be quite helpful to be a little bit audible when we let things go. So when we inhale and we let things go, we can go, ah, right? You can make those sounds to just let it go, because it's okay to let it go. And it's okay to make any sound that feels right within your body. We'll do one more letting go breath. So I'm going to allow you a couple moments here to breathe and just keep that sensation and awareness on your breath and on your mind's eye. Seeing if you can find that mindlessness, that ability to just breathe into that center of that forehead and into each limb, and that be your only focus. Just your breath, keeping that awareness within that body, within that mind's eye. Let's slowly bring our awareness back into our body, wiggling our fingers and our toes. Let's roll onto one side and slowly, slowly coming up to an easy seated position near the top of your mat, just as we started. So before we end our practice here today, I want to leave you with that feel good, letting go sensation. And I find that bee's breath is a great way to just feel the amazing vibrations within our universe. So bee's breath is, we're going to take our thumbs and you're going to plug your ears, so that the little hangy part on your ears, you can plug that piece on your ears. We inhale through our nose and we exhale a right? We're exhaling our breath out nice and long. And what it should sound like is kind of like a bee's nest, buzz, buzz, right? But it's quite a calming sensation. It's that ability to let go. And so this is one of those tools and resources that you can take with you into your daily life. If you're needing a moment to let go, you can use your bee's breath. So bringing our fingers to the little hangy part of our ears, taking a nice deep inhale here, exhale humming. One more. Inhale. Exhale. allowing that vibration to fill your body, to bring calm over your being. The light in me bows and honors and truly sees the light in you. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.